Tonight, the Pope's visit in Canada continues with a massive traditional mass in Edmonton's football stadium. Also, one of Saskatchewan's biggest COVID-19 vaccination clinics is wrapping up its operations. Plus, for the first time in a decade and a half, a survey shows positive public perception of Regina police has declined.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is Tuesday, July 26th, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. Good evening and thanks for watching. Tens of thousands of people celebrated a traditional Mass with Pope Francis today in Edmonton. Indigenous commentators noted there were only a few references to truth and reconciliation.
A future in which the history of violence and marginalization suffered by our Indigenous brothers and sisters is never repeated.
For an Indigenous person and a priest, this Mass was a missed opportunity of the celebration of Indigenous spiritual ways. It just, being transported back into a time that I didn't even know as a child.
I'm stunned there was no mention of the apology.
Francis stopped his Pope-mobile on the way in to kiss a baby. The stadium was not filled to capacity, perhaps due to the heat. During the service, the Pope talked about grandparents and elders, who he called a precious treasure. Tomorrow, the Pope leaves Alberta and will travel to Quebec City. Ripples are still being felt in Saskatchewan after yesterday's papal apology. And as Brian Enius reports, survivors and church officials alike in this province are still processing what it will mean moving forward.
Tom and Terry Roberts traveled to Maquachese, Alberta from their home in central Saskatchewan to hear these words from the Pope on Canadian soil.
I am deeply sorry. I humbly beg forgiveness for the evil committed by so many Christians against the Indigenous peoples.
Like at least 150,000 Indigenous people in this country, Tom and Terry were forced to attend residential schools. Both say the pontiff's long-awaited apology for that brought on heavy emotions, but also some closure.
It took them so long for them to realize what my people went through. For over 100 years. Shouldn't have happened.
Riding the bus to see the Pope, Terry says she felt nervous. And it turned out to be a powerful day for everyone who gathered to see him, including herself.
I felt the pain. It brought me back to a little girl. But I held them as a Roman elder. I'm in my 60s now. I comforted them.
Monday's apology also transcended to those involved in the Roman Catholic Church here in Saskatchewan. Archbishop Don Bolin of the Archdiocese of Regina says he recognizes it was a long time coming for residential school survivors, and he sees the apology as an important first step.
You know, the Pope didn't say everything that everyone wanted him to say, but we're at a new place today. Going forward tomorrow, the question will be what follows the apology. What happens the day after.
Tom and Terry both say they too are watching to see what happens next from the church. They say they want to see concrete steps taken toward meaningful reconciliation. For its part, the Roman Catholic Church says it will launch an investigation into Canada's residential school system, but there's no word yet on what that could entail or when that will start. Brian Enius, CBC News, Regina.
Support is available for anyone affected by residential schools. You can call the 24-hour National Crisis Line, the number 1-866-925-4419. The search continues near Saskatoon for a missing woman and her 7-year-old son. Dawn Walker is well known in the Indigenous and literary communities. She's also the Executive Operating Officer of the Federation of Sovereign Indigenous Nations. Walker was last seen Friday night at a business on the 300 block of Owen Manor. Police say she may be with her son, Vincent Jansen. Yesterday morning, police found Walker's pickup truck at the Chief Whitecap Dog Park just south of Saskatoon. Today, the FSIN and police gave an update, but there are no major developments. RCMP, Saskatoon Police and volunteer searchers are all looking for Walker and Jansen both by air and by boat.
We have other resources that are part of this investigation, including a general investigation section. We are working in concert with the Saskatoon Police Service to pursue every possible avenue of the reason for Dawn and her son's disappearance.
RCMP say there are no indications of foul play at the moment, but the FSIN says it is not ruling it out. What do you think of the police in the community where you live? The latest results of a survey conducted every 2 years by Regina Police shows that positive perceptions of the service are down. Alexander Kwan explains.
It's a survey used to tell the Regina Police Service how the public perceives it. And for the first time in 15 years, favor has fallen. In almost every category, whether it is the police's sensitivity to the needs of ethnic groups or confidence in calling 911 in an emergency, the opinions of the public have shifted, and not for the better. For Nick Jones, one of the people who helped create the survey, the results are not a surprise.
Are these drops concerning? I don't think so. I think this was a reflection of a whole bunch of things going on in society in general, because we saw it across virtually every police service in the country.
This data was collected in the fall of 2021, and the survey is conducted every 2 years. So what changed? The 2020 killing of George Floyd in the United States and the resulting protests calling for justice, as well as the COVID-19 pandemic, are some of the subjects that helped shift public perception of police since 2019. Data from other provinces shows it was not just Regina affected. In previous years, Regina Police performed well above other police organizations. Jones and Police Chief Evan Bray say it was just a matter of time until that dropped.
Seeing this decrease, which is indicative of what's happening in the world and across Canada, I think it adds validity to how accurate this survey has been in the past in really reflecting what the perceptions are in our communities. 450
residents were surveyed last fall. Those who identified as Indigenous consistently indicated they had lower confidence and trust in the police. Bray says building partnerships and working with community organizations is important to help increase trust among diverse populations.
It's just been intentional steps forward to build that understanding, listen to what some concerns are, and finding ways that we can address those concerns so that they feel heard.
Bray says the shifting public perception of police has made it difficult to recruit new officers. He says that's why it's important to maintain public confidence in the community in order to ensure that everyone, including police, can continue to do their jobs. Alexander Kwan, CBC News, Regina.
The Saskatchewan Health Authority is wrapping up its operation of the COVID-19 vaccination centre at Prairieland Park in Saskatoon. The SHA says it's closing up with the end of its lease agreement. The last day the clinic will be open for vaccinations will be tomorrow. Moving forward, people in Saskatoon and the surrounding area will have to book in advance or get their shots at walk-in or pop-up clinics. Pharmacies are also an option, but something important to note, pharmacists cannot vaccinate children under 5. Also related to COVID-19, the Ministry of Health gave us an update on how increasing surgeries is going. There was quite a backlog because of the pandemic. Between January and May of this year, there were just more than 35,600 surgeries performed in our province. That is roughly 5,000 more than the last 5 months of 2021. And while close, things are still not back up to pre-pandemic levels. For a comparison, we took a look at the numbers from the first 5 months of 2018 and 2019. In 2019, the province completed 2,400 more surgeries than this year. That means we're currently operating at about 94% of that year's capacity. And in 2018, there were roughly 2,200 more surgeries. That said, the province says it is looking to expand surgeries provided by private health care. A request for proposals has been issued for an orthopedic surgery facility to boost operating room and bed capacity. The government says it's also exploring a temporary out-of-province surgical initiative for hip and knee replacements. It says the private surgical facility outside of the province will be contracted by the SHA to provide publicly funded orthopedic surgeries. It looks like it will be close to all hands on deck for the Rough Riders this week as COVID seems to have run its course through the locker room. The list of returning starters who missed the second game against the Argos includes quarterback Cody Fajardo. Fajardo confirmed today he is dealing with ligament damage in his left knee. So far, the injury suffered almost 4 weeks ago and aggravated in Touchdown Atlantic has not caused him to miss any action. It was actually COVID that kept him out of the lineup on Sunday.
It kicked my butt for 48 hours. It was really tough on me. Had just about every symptom you could think of, and broke my fever in my sleep, and just coughing and headaches, achiness, chills.
I mean, it's an MCL, you know, unless there's something new from today. I don't know, but yeah, we know he's got some ligament issues, and hopefully it heals up on its own, and he's able to play.
I don't know. I feel like it might be up to other people, but if it's up to me, I'm playing. Maybe I spoke too soon by saying definitely I'll be out there, but I think talking with the doc and talking with coach, I think everybody feels like we're on the same page, and I should be able to be healthy enough to go out there and play some football.
Fajardo is expected to start against the BC Lions this Friday night at Mosaic Stadium. He will also have his main target back in the lineup. Duke Williams has served his one-game suspension for the helmet throwing incident in Nova Scotia. Well, many people in our province have been lucky enough to catch the bright and bold northern lights. The stunning displays of aurora borealis have been expected due to a flurry of activity on the sun. The best way to see them? Head out to a dark sky location with a decent view to the north. As for if there's a clear sky in our future in the evening, Ethan will have the forecast after the break. Stay with us. The 2022 Tony Cody First Nations Summer Games are in full swing. Athletes from across the province are showing off their skills this week in Saskatoon and Whitecap Dakota First Nation. And there's one team in particular that's getting comfortable on the podium. Teresa Kleem has that story.
Representing Team Woodland.
It's another gold medal for Team Woodland and the third one for its young athlete Tishon Wanich at this year's Tony Cody First Nations Summer Games. In just 2 days, the 16-year-old has already won first place in the 100-meter, high jump and long jump in his age group.
I was a little bit surprised because there's a lot of people that, you know, they looked a lot faster and could jump higher than me.
But Wanich is not the only star on the team. Samuel Bird has already collected several medals at this year's games, also in athletics. The 16-year-old is from Montreal Lake Cree Nation, one of several communities competing for Team Woodland. Bird says it's not only meaningful for him, but also for those who have gone before him.
My grandfather, my Gumasham, he was a long-distance runner. His dream was to become an Olympic. And he was never able to accomplish that goal because he had a skidoo accident with his knee. And so I want to try and make that dream for him come true.
Woodlands coach Warren Roberts says he's proud of everything his team has accomplished so far, both on and off the podium, in the connections they've made at these games, and he says it's not just about the medals.
Like win, lose, it's just as long as they're enjoying themselves, they put the effort, the hard work that they've done, it pays off, and that transfers over to life.
Teresa Kleem, CBC News, Saskatoon.
This weather update is brought to you by Capital Ford Lincoln. The exclusive export event is back.
And weather specialist Ethan Williams joins me now. I see you have dried out from being caught in the rain this afternoon.
Yeah, just happened to be standing out this afternoon when that huge downpour came down in Regina. My shoes are still squeaking because they're still wet, but they're finally, I think, drying out. And we did have a little bit of rough weather yesterday as well. This is a water spout on Lake Athabasca that Jackie caught. This touched down around 5:30 yesterday. No damage, thankfully, reported. This is rated an EF0 by Environment Canada. And there was a funnel cloud advisory in effect in the area, but it dropped off shortly afterward. Not often we see land spouts and water spouts in the far north like that, so a pretty rare event. And yes, as I mentioned, it did pour a lot in Regina this afternoon. These cells moving through, those are now in the Weyburn-Estevan area and starting to move out into Manitoba at this point. And that has dropped temperatures. You take a look at a place like Estevan at 14 degrees, and it's 11 degrees warmer in Maple Creek on the other side of the province. And you can actually see that pool of cool air in that southeast part of the province now. Weyburn at 17. Swift Current at 22, Saskatoon still sitting quite nice at 23 degrees. Now, those showers and thunderstorms are still possible until about midnight tonight, especially in the south part of the province, but those will move out. And by the time we get to tomorrow morning, the only area experiencing maybe some showers will be around Hudson Bay before we get to tomorrow afternoon. And most of us are going to be clear, save for maybe a thunderstorm or two around between Hudson Bay and Yorkton, but again, should be on the non-severe side. Thursday, all of us will be mostly clear. And then we watch our next system, which will be affecting the far north of the province, moving in on Friday. And the north will continue to need that rain because there are some fires, but we're in a much better position than this time last week. We're at 37 fires now, and there were 73 this time last week. 3 are not contained. That's compared to 12 the week before, and we're just still a little bit above the 5-year average. But all eyes turn to the south of the province in terms of our fire risk. This is for tomorrow, and the southwest really starting to get into that extreme risk, and much of south and central into a high risk. And it's not going to be helped by our weather pattern because we are going to be experiencing a warm up, but things are going to be really dry. And right now, the interior of BC seeing temperatures into the high 30s. We probably won't get that high in south and central, but with the humidex values, it may feel like that as we get into the end of the week. Wind gusts will diminish overnight tomorrow. The highest will be in the southeast between 40 and 50 kilometers an hour out of the north and northwest. And then Thursday, as that high pressure starts to move in, we'll see those gusts nearly die right down. And as you'll see in our next 7-day forecast in Regina, it will be sunny and it will be quite hot. Tomorrow is kind of the last day before temperatures really ramp up, and those humidex values getting into the mid-30s as we head through the weekend. Maybe some gusty conditions as we head through Monday and maybe Tuesday. Saskatoon, also a very nice 7-day forecast. We may not get quite as hot as the southern portion of the province, but some really sunny days ahead. And Sam, I know that you're not a fan of mosquitoes, so after this rain and the heat bumping up a little bit, I have a feeling they may make their return.
Thank you for the warning.
Buy your bug spray now.
On it. Thanks, Ethan.
You bet.
It was a big day for Team Saskatchewan ahead of the Canada Summer Games in Niagara next month. Today, the team roster and flag bearer was named, and their new uniforms were unveiled as well. Saskatchewan will send 377 athletes to compete. The Games offer 19 different sports over 18 days, starting August 6th. Good luck to all of our athletes. Stay with us. We'll be back after the break. The fallout continues from Hockey Canada's handling of sexual assault allegations. The Commons Heritage Committee is holding 2 days of hearings. The committee is trying to uncover what happened when Hockey Canada and Sport Canada learned of an alleged group sexual assault involving players in 2018. Marina von Stackelberg reports.
How can you call your investigation independent when Hockey Canada is paying the bills on it?
This lawyer hired by Hockey Canada 4 years ago to look into serious allegations of sexual assault, hauled before a House of Commons Emergency Committee meeting. Danielle Robitaille says her investigation is reopened. Unlike last time, the hockey players in question must participate, or their names will be made public, and
they will receive a lifetime ban in participating in Hockey Canada.
This spring, Hockey Canada settled a $3.5 million lawsuit. A woman alleges she was sexually assaulted in 2018 by 8 former CHL players following an event in London, Ontario. Robitaille says she spent 18 months investigating, but stopped when the alleged victim wouldn't give a statement.
Is it acceptable that we drop any further investigation because there's no official complaint?
I appreciate that it's very frustrating to Canadians that we don't have an outcome yet. This is something that we have seen in the area of sexual violence in the justice sector as well. And what I can say is justice takes time.
Sport Canada, the government body that provides funding to Hockey Canada, was also questioned. Officials told the committee they've known about the allegations since 2018, but they never followed up with Hockey Canada and never told the Minister of Sport.
They could have stopped this.
Sport Canada needs to own this as much as Hockey Canada.
Sport Canada officials were also asked why they waited to pull funding this spring when they knew about the allegations 4 years ago.
You want these organizations to reveal these cases. You want those organizations to actually take action on that. You don't want them to try to hide it.
I think it's fair to say Canadians have lost confidence. They've lost confidence in Hockey Canada. They're losing confidence in Sports Canada.
Next, the committee will once again hear from Hockey Canada's top brass, as well as leaders of major junior hockey leagues across the country. They'll be questioned about what they did or didn't do about the allegations. Marina von Stackelberg, CBC News, Ottawa.
Former pro hockey player Sheldon Kennedy is reacting to Hockey Canada's plan this afternoon, one that is to combat any toxic behavior in hockey. In a statement posted to Twitter, Kennedy says after 26 years of advocating for victims, he can't sit idle any longer. Kennedy says the same people with the same plans expecting something different is the definition of insanity. He calls for the resignation of Hockey Canada's CEO, leadership team, and board of directors. Kennedy concludes by saying, "Enough is enough already." Online tech giant Shopify is laying off 10% of its workforce, about 1,000 people. The Ottawa-based company says it misjudged the growth of e-commerce. Shopify had bet that online shopping would leap ahead by 5 or 10 years from pre-pandemic predictions, and they staffed accordingly. But with people reverting to their old shopping habits, it now says it doesn't need as many employees. Most of the job losses are in recruiting, support, and sales. And Ethan is back with one last look at tonight's weather.
And after the shower and thunderstorm threat drops off after midnight, we will be waking up to some mainly sunny conditions in Regina. 13 degrees, northwest winds starting to pick up, and those will peak around the noon hour, where we will see mainly sunny skies at 20 degrees, north gusts at about 40. They'll bump up just a little bit more as we head through the afternoon. Saskatoon will start the morning sunny, 14 degrees, nice light north winds, and well, why don't we keep that sun around as we head to the noon hour? 21 degrees, north winds about 35 kilometers an hour. Now, of course, we love seeing your photos as always, and this gorgeous shot taken by Arlie in Regina. This is a mourning dove sitting on a branch in A.E. Wilson Park, but no mourning this forecast, Sam, because it is going to be quite nice over the next few days.
Oh, the puns. Thanks, Ethan.
You bet.
Oh, and before we leave you, you may think you know Ukrainian food, but there might be something new for you to try in Saskatoon. Nestor's Bakery has hired a few women who fled the war in Ukraine. Some of them ran their own bakeries or previously worked as chefs, and now they're serving up some of their go-to dishes. Now, we weren't able to speak to any of the women directly, but one of the cafe's owners says they hope this can give these newcomers a fresh start.
There's a lot of other baked goods that are popular in Ukraine now that we never made in the past. So every day we have something new that the bakers try and put out. We also, from our cafe here, have want to start doing catering of Ukrainian food. And I think part of the idea behind that is we would like to maybe be like sort of a business incubator of sorts. So some of the people who have arrived, if they want to start their own business, this is maybe a way of them kind of sort of starting that process.
New items are offered daily at the bakery. The downtown cafe also features a Ukrainian lunch special every Tuesday. Looks like something worth checking out. That is it for us tonight. For news anytime, you can head to our website or subscribe to the CBC Saskatchewan YouTube channel. Glenn Reed and Ethan will be back with more local news and weather tonight at 11. Thank you for watching and have a great night.